Hi everyone. I'd like to welcome the first guest that we've ever had at the Wellness Hub. Her name is Serena and she's from the Serene Mamma. She's going to be talking us through postpartum and matrescence, which I've just learned about. I'd like to hand over to her now to introduce herself and tell us a bit more.
Hello, everybody. My name is Serena, as mentioned. My business is the Serene Mamma, and I started this after I had two traumatic births and very difficult breastfeeding journey with my first baby. I just felt this very strong sense that I need to help other moms so they don't have to go through the same thing. Because I love research, I love reading up about things, and I know not everybody does. And another thing that I really love doing is teaching other people something, taking a complex concept and then making it really easy to understand, because when you are postpartum, you don't have mental capacity to be figuring stuff out
Wow.
and reading a bunch of books and Googling everything, because there's 100,000 million results on Google and you don't know which one is right. And you also don't know if the auntie on the Facebook group knows anything or knows what you're talking about. And she doesn't know your baby. And also interpreting what the books and the stuff say to real life, because your baby didn't read the book. They don't know what the book says or what they're supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
So the real life is so much different than what the experts say. And that's my whole thing, is making it easier for other moms to know what is going to come. Because a lot of the stuff is inevitable. It's going to happen. You are going to have sleep deprivation and you are going to be having all sorts of changes. And like you were saying now, matrescence is a massive transformation that your body goes through physically and mentally. Your hormones, everything changes when
Yeah.
you transition from going from being a woman to being a mother. And if you don't know that's going to happen, then you keep thinking, when am I going to go back to myself again? And the answer is never, because you're not going to be a woman again. You're always going to be a mother. So,
Exactly.
and it's like adolescence, when you go from being a child to being a teenager to being an adult. That same
Mm.
change, hormones,
The
everything that your body goes through, you
transformation.
go
Yeah.
through it again. Yes, exactly.
Okay, perfect. I want to take a few steps back and just talk about how your very different qualifications have actually inputted in this business, like how they help you, how they've laid the foundation for what you present to moms.
So I'm a qualified engineer and I have a master's degree in engineering. And through that, I learned a lot of skills, research, finding the right sources that is not Wikipedia and Google, and learning how to interpret that in a way that's you can explain to someone who has never heard of the concept before.
That, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then I research topic was blockchain. Mother and my sister, everybody was reading my thesis, and I had to make sure I was explaining in a way that someone who's never heard of it can
Exactly.
actually understand what I'm talking about. And that's what I'm trying to do with teaching moms how to understand what's going to happen with postpartum and then how to plan for it. And then as an industrial engineer, you learn a lot about change management and managing expectations. And that's what I want to do for
Yes.
moms. I want to help them understand, like I said, a lot of stuff is inevitable. Some of it you can prevent if you know what's happening and what's coming, but you can't do any of that if you don't know what's coming. So I want to just tell you, this is what's going to happen. This is how you can prepare for it,
Yes.
or this is how you can prevent it.
So you've basically got two avenues. The one is dealing with the immense amount of information that comes flooding at you during a time where you
Yes,
actually are so sleep deprived and overwhelmed. It's very difficult to take it in. And the second
yes,
deals with systems. You create kind of processes and systems to regulate and manage certain situations so that all that
yes,
stress and anticipation and like what is happening here is kind of taken, not completely taken out of the picture, but kind of managed better. So you feel a little bit more in
yeah,
control. Is that right?
exactly. Yeah. So
Amazing.
you can be them, but Serene Mama said this is gonna happen. This is what I must do. So
Yes,
it's like a, if this happens, then do this. If this happens, then do this type thing.
exactly. Okay, great. And then, okay, so we deal with postpartum. And I want to ask you, why have you chosen to focus? Because on your website, you speak a lot about there's a lot of emphasis on being pregnant. There's a lot of emphasis
Yes.
on the birth. What made you decide to focus on the postpartum? Was it the experience that you particularly had both times?
Yes. So my whole thing was everybody supports you for the 9 months, up to the birth. They support you through the birth. You do the birth planning. You pack your hospital bag.
Yes.
You get the nursery ready. Everybody's excited. Baby shower, everything. And then the baby comes out and everyone's like, oh, here's your baby. Okay, bye. Figure it out. My whole thing was, what about me now? What do I do? How do I know what to do now? Because they're all
Yeah.
like, oh, well, is the baby okay? Is the baby fed? Is she gaining weight? Is she okay? Is she sleeping? Then everything's fine. And that's
Yes.
not the case because I'm not fine. And
No,
after,
exactly.
when my second child was already a year old, a year and a half, I was only diagnosed with postpartum anxiety. So I was dealing with that all alone all that time. And nobody even thought of, wait a minute, this is not normal. And I also didn't think it's normal. I thought that's just how it is. And only later I found out, oh, wait a minute, I was struggling and had no support.
Yes. I think
Yes.
having had a very similar experience, I don't come from a history of depression, so I didn't know what it was. I did not
Mm.
recognize anything that was happening to me. And it was terrifying. And once the other thing is the shame associated with it, because once you kind of do start realizing that something's not right, and it could be this, especially certain types of personalities, you try and hide it because it's almost like a failure. You know, if
Exactly.
you don't want anyone to know that you're failing, or well, misconception that you aren't coping. Does that mean I'm a bad mother? There's all these things associated with that are just absolutely shocking to deal with because you're already dealing with this situation, and now these added associations is terrible. I wanted to ask you to please explain the term matrescence and the
Matrescence, yeah.
pronunciation.
Yeah. So it's the transformation that a woman goes through when she becomes a mother. It's the hormones, the way your brain works physically, the structure, the actual physical structure of your brain changes. Your body obviously goes through massive changes, and all of that together forms matrescence. So then you now are a mother. You are no longer just a woman, which is still great being a woman, but being a mother is a whole different thing. And your body will never go back to the way it was before. And understanding that just makes it so much easier to accept and then go from
Yes.
there instead of wishing and wondering, when am I going to go back to the way I was before?
I think once you also realize what your body actually does to produce that baby, I mean,
Exactly.
it's unbelievable. Your whole skeletal structure, your organs move. It's unbelievable once you actually
Yes,
start realizing and seeing it. It's a miracle. I mean, yes, it's
it is.
very hard and it's at times almost impossible, but it's a miracle. It's an absolute wonder that out of all of this, a child, a whole new life comes out of it.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's amazing. And then I wanted to chat to you about some scenarios, maybe from your own personal experience that, you know, we can all relate to, that would make it understandable of like what this class is going to help you deal with, you know,
Okay.
or your masterclass.
So the masterclass is 3 steps to a more serene postpartum. So you can prepare. You can be ready how to prepare yourself and your environment so that you can have a more serene postpartum. So for me, my breastfeeding journey with my first was a complete disaster. She had jaundice, but nobody noticed until she was already so weak that they said, no, now you have to give a formula. And I was completely devastated because I always said I will never ever give my child formula. That stuff
I
is
did too.
poison. I will never do it. And I was
Yeah.
sobbing for 12 hours straight, and nobody even gave me a tissue. Never mind, was like, are you okay? And after going to a midwife who I knew if there is any chance that I can breastfeed this child, she will fix it for me. And she was like, I'm sorry, you have to give formula. But she helped
Mhm.
me triple feed. So triple feeding is where you feed and then you pump right after the feed, and then you give formula as well, like a top up. If you did
Yes.
pump anything in the previous session, you can give that as a top up, but you have to let the baby try and latch first, and then you have to pump to stimulate so that your body can make more milk. And then, because what happened was, because she had jaundice, she was too weak to stimulate, and my body couldn't then make enough milk. But nobody was telling me that. I was just like, okay, so first of all, so the whole thing for me was my body was failing me because I couldn't fall pregnant naturally. I had to do IVF. Then I couldn't give birth naturally because I had an emergency C-section. Then I couldn't breastfeed because my baby had jaundice and I didn't have enough milk. So at this point, I was just like, am I even a woman? Because my body's not doing any of the things that it should be doing. Why do I need help for everything? So I had to triple feed then for a month. I don't think it was like 6 weeks. And that was in COVID time. So I'm sitting in my house. I got COVID after 3 weeks. So I'm sitting there with my mask, trying to breastfeed my little weak little newborn. And she's in under the blue light, luckily at my house. And then eventually, with massive determination, I eventually was able to stop giving her formula. And then I could breastfeed her just exclusively up to 14 and a half
Yeah.
months. So that was a huge thing for me, because if I can just tell another woman, look out for jaundice, the nurses are not going to notice it. These are the things you need to do to make sure that you have enough milk. Because so
Yeah.
many women tell me, I didn't have enough milk. And then if I ask them, how did you know that? It'll just be something like, I just had a few milliliters. The first few days, you must have a few milliliters. That baby's tummy is tiny. So
Yeah.
if you have a few, that's great. Give it to them. If you, worst case scenario, you triple feed for a while and then you stimulate and you have enough milk and then you can carry on from there.
Yeah. I had such a similar experience to you, and I also had a COVID baby. I think it exasperated everything that a normal mother goes through. But
Exactly.
as you say, you felt like your body was failing you, like all these things. I also had such issues. Like, I carried fine until about 7.5 months, then bed rest. Breastfeeding was a disaster, an absolute disaster, and I couldn't work out. I also had this thing with formula. I don't want to use formula. Breast milk is best, whatever. And I just had to get over that very quickly because she wasn't getting the nutrition. Also weak. It's terrifying, and you are in
Yeah,
charge of her feeding and giving her life and keeping her alive, and now your body's not doing what it's meant to be doing. So
exactly.
it really does help to have someone there telling you that actually a lot of us go through this. It's not just one or two. There's a ton of us out there that struggle with things that are meant to be normal, and actually they don't come as easily.
Yeah. But I think the whole concept of breastfeeding is natural is a made up concept. I don't think anybody just breastfeeds the first baby without any help. Somewhere, someone was helping you get the latch right and just hold the baby right or whatever. Somewhere you had
Yeah,
some sort of guidance somewhere. They tell you, sorry, that, I mean, you're thinking that thousands of women are doing it every day. Why can't I do it? And the truth is,
yeah.
it's the hardest thing you will ever do in your life. So,
It's
and that's
very
my whole
hard.
thing, is the hardest part comes after the baby's born. You think the birth is the hard
Exactly.
part, but that's, even if it's a 48-hour birth, it's over then. Where
Yeah.
postpartum is can be 18 months plus. And that is something we don't even prepare for at all. We just kind of, oh, here's your baby, now you're postpartum, go. Figure it out.
You just have to get on with it because now the
Yes.
baby's
And
a
do it with a
priority, so
smile.
the mother falls behind. Yeah, it's so true. I think one of the scariest things I remember is I had a wonderful hospital that I was at, and it was a wonderful experience. But I remember the day that we had to leave, I started crying. I said to
Yeah.
my husband, please, can't we do something? Can't we just like stay another night? There must be some way. And then we were
Yeah.
in the car park and I couldn't get in the car. I was terrified we were going to have an accident with the baby. Then we get home and everyone leaves. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, this is horrendous. And that stillness, and you know your baby's going to wake. And it
Then
was
what do you do?
horrific. Yeah, panic. The biggest
Like,
panic
can't the
of your
nurse go
life.
home with you? Yeah.
So
Yeah,
basically,
I think we
your
all
course is going
go
to
through that.
help
Yeah.
alleviate that panic that, you're going to walk through the steps of like, okay, this is what you're going to do. This is how you're
Yes.
going to set up that and that.
Yes. So my course goes literally from the hospital all the way through managing your boundaries with family, friends, dealing with any
Yes.
postpartum mental health disorders, how to identify if it really is a problem or is it just baby blues, and if it
Yeah.
is a problem, what can you do about it? I also have a mental health guide which goes through exercises and meditations and journal prompts that you can go through to
Amazing.
help you deal with that. If you want to deal with it on your own, if it's not bad enough that you need to go get professional help, but I do guide you. If this happens, you need to go see someone. And
Yeah.
that is a big thing because a lot of women are like, no, I can figure it out. I can figure it out. I can deal with it. I also made a partner guide, which is a very short version where like the husband or the family members can read that and see
Hmm.
these are the red flags to look for. How can you support the mother? Because
That's so
telling
good.
me, how can I help you, is not helping me because you're adding to my mental load. So rather
Yes.
say, can I do XYZ for you or whatever? That's much more helpful than saying, how can I help you? And then it gives them tasks. What can the dad do with the baby? Because he can't feed the baby if the mom's breastfeeding, but there's a lot of other stuff he can do and helping her get more sleep and stuff like that.
That is
So that's why I made
excellent.
that one. And
That
then,
is
yeah, the
amazing.
course
And
also.
I wanted to ask you what they've got like other kids at home. Is there a separate, because I mean, the
So
workload is so much more if you've got lots of
there is a
kids.
portion of the guide that goes through, one of my guides, that does go through preparing your second child. A lot of the stuff in the course is applicable even if it's your first child, because going through because you forget. You think you've had a child, but even my
Yes.
kids are only 2 years apart. But by the second one, I was like, what is happening? I can't remember any
And
of
they're
the stuff.
also different.
Yes. Everything happens
Yeah.
differently. And yeah, so stuff like breastfeeding challenges that you can go through. Like my second had cow milk protein allergy and reflux, which I didn't have with the first one. So preparing, looking out for the signs of stuff like that. And the mental
Yes.
health problems, a lot of the time it only manifests in the second child because now you have so much more pressure. You're dealing with a toddler
Yes.
and a newborn. Now you
Yeah.
can't, there's no resting, there's no taking a nap, there's no sleeping when the baby sleeps. So it's actually worse for the second child. And
Yeah.
that even starts in the pregnancy because now you're exhausted, you're growing a human, and you can't rest because you have another human that's calling you and climbing on you. So I always tell people, like, I'm going to put on my CV that I potty trained my first child while I had my second child strapped to my chest and I had no help at home. I was at home alone and I was just like, this
Yes.
week we're potty training now. And I managed to do it in 3 days. So that is my thing that I'm
Amazing.
really proud of. Even having a master's in engineering doesn't compare to that for me. So yeah, that's a
That's
huge thing
amazing.
that moms go through. Yeah. So even though you are prepared for a lot of the stuff, most of the time breastfeeding is easier with the second child because first of all, your boobs now know what they need to be doing and you know what
Yeah.
to be need to be doing, but your baby still doesn't know what they need to do. So they still have to learn. And there are a lot of other things like allergies and stuff that you maybe didn't go through. And the mental health stuff
Yes.
definitely still applies.
In your course, you mentioned like there's lactation therapists, there's
Exactly.
your P, there's this, there's that. I'm sure that's a huge help to have someone saying to you, if you can tick these 3 boxes, you need to go see someone. Like, it's
Exactly.
time.
Yeah.
It takes
So that
that
is something I cover.
decision
I
making,
cover
it
like,
makes it easier.
yes. That's my whole thing is I will tell you what I can tell you up to a point. If you are not coming right with these steps or whatever, then go see a lactation consultant. A lot of people go see a pediatrician if they struggle with breastfeeding, and pediatricians don't know anything about breastfeeding. That's what people don't understand. They know about babies. They don't know anything about moms. Even gynecologists don't know about breastfeeding. You need to see a lactation consultant because they will
Yes.
explain to you how much is enough milk, how to get more milk out, how to increase your milk supply, but not too much. All that stuff. Pediatrician is going to tell you don't have enough milk because with formula baby drinks 200 milliliters, where 100 will be enough for a breastfeeding baby.
Yeah.
Breast milk has a lot more nutrients than in formula. So even a
Absolutely.
one-year-old can be fine with 100 milliliters, where a formula will be 200, 250 milliliters at a time. And I had a friend the
Yeah.
other day telling me, yeah, I didn't have enough milk. My pediatrician said I need to formula feed now because I only had 100 milliliters with my 8-week-old. And I was like, that is way more than enough for an 8-week-old. So that's why she then stopped breastfeeding. And a lot of moms stop breastfeeding because they're uneducated. They don't understand, like cluster
They give
feeding.
up too
Cluster feeding is going
soon.
to happen. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a
And the
teeny
thing
tiny
is,
percentage of women that really
yes,
don't have enough milk. The rest just don't understand how breast milk works.
they just need the guidance from a lactation therapist or consultant
Yes.
and also the methodology. The other thing with that is that a bad feed, a bad eater, should we say, can lead to solids being an issue when they're introduced.
Yeah.
It's almost like the association with feeding itself becomes like a psychological thing. So
It's to
it
your
can all
stress
be
load.
avoided.
And it just will just make your postpartum depression 10 times worse because
Of
now you've.
course, if I'd just gone back in time and at the hospital realized there was a latching issue and this, it would have been such a better experience. Okay, so how long is your course? How long is a masterclass? What do you get given with I mean, you mentioned booklets and everything and guides. What does it all entail?
Yes.
What does the package entail?
So the masterclass is a free class that you attend, and then I take you through just planning for postpartum. The course is a
Yeah,
12-week course, and that includes I think it's 5 different guides. There's a whole planning for postpartum guide. and dealing with
Yes.
breastfeeding and what's going to happen from the moment the baby comes out, how to deal with all the different things with the baby and then second child and everything. Then there's I've got templates and checklists that you can use for like meal planning and who can help you look after the
Yes.
child or help you buy groceries and stuff like that, who's can come visit when and stuff. Then I've also got the mental health guide that's included, the partner guide, and then there's every week of the 12 weeks we have a mommy meetup, which is a virtual
Oh,
chat that
that's
we have
lovely.
where we could all chat about what we're struggling with, and with your pajamas, your newborn is there with you. You don't have to put your screaming newborn in the car. You can be changing nappies while you're on the call if you want. Anything you want to be
Yes.
doing, you have your coffee or your tea and your messy hair, it's fine. Whatever you want to do, if you want to talk, you talk. If you want to listen, you listen, because moms need that support. And there are
Yeah.
so many support groups that start at 6 weeks or 12 weeks. And by then, you are already falling apart. You need someone from week one to help you talk through.
Yes.
This is also happening to me, speaking to other moms that are going through the same thing. That
Yeah.
just makes it so much better and easier to deal with. And there's also then the community platform where you can send messages
Yes.
and ask questions at any time, share your struggles, whatever you want to do, even if you want to ask questions about the course or whatever, you can share it on there.
It's so important because the tip sharing, my sister and I had babies 5 months apart. I remember there were such weird things, like the one day she just stopped wanting her bottle, which was already a hard thing to give to her, but it was like an extra fight. And I remember my sister saying she had just discovered that the washing liquid that we were using, her baby also was not liking it. And they have a very strong sense of smell.
Yes.
Maybe. Oh, so she said to me, just try this, I'm sure. But by then I tried like 20 things. I was desperate. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing
Yeah.
wrong. So that tip sharing is so important because you never know what's going to work on your baby. And the more community that you have to ask, the better, because you've got all these different options. One of them is
Yes.
going to work.
And if someone is helping you and their baby is already 4 or 5 years old, they can't remember anymore. But if they had a baby, like we had exactly the same thing. My sister's baby is 6 months after my first baby. So
Yes.
we were also like, okay, I'm trying this. Did you try this? And she also struggled because it was her second child, but the
Mm.
first one was already 4. So by then she couldn't remember anything anymore. So I had just gone through this. So I was like, okay, do this, do this, do this. But the washing
Yeah, you
powder is
see,
actually a massive thing that in the future, also going to be looking at teaching moms
the
about toxins.
product.
Yes, because
Absolutely.
fragrance in anything in your house, besides the fact that it's messing up your hormones, it can also
Yes.
the babies give the babies eczema. So many babies have eczema, and the people are putting cortisone on this little newborn, and it's just messing up their immune systems and their hormones and everything. And all you have to do is just eliminate fragrance from your whole house, and you will just take away so many issues. You will also see if you don't use perfume and stuff, and someone who's wearing perfume holds your baby, they will get very upset because they don't like
Yes, they
that
get
smell.
fussy.
It's too intense. But the smell is in your washing powder. So that can also make them very upset.
There
So
were so
I've
many
also,
things.
yeah, I've also
Yeah,
done a lot of research about toxins and stuff. So there will be another course on what to look out for, how to eliminate that,
that's
just so I can
amazing.
help. And that's the general thing, not just necessarily for moms, but it's important when you have a little newborn to get the stuff out of your
Because you
house.
don't think of that.
Yeah.
So it's so important to bring that up because I didn't even, I only suddenly remembered this now, but it's a massive thing actually.
Yeah, and people don't know how many toxins and stuff is in baby products. It's actually you're poisoning your baby, and you think you're buying like there are specific brands that shouldn't even be allowed to be on the shelf because it's more poison than doing anything for your baby. And even just washing your newborn is not necessary. You don't have to use soap, and that's what people think. You have to wash them and clean them so nicely.
That's amazing. Gosh, I hadn't thought of that for for, for very long. Um, okay, great. So basically what I want to do is I want to go through, we've chatted about your website. There's a lot of information on there. Which is
Yes.
good to go through to understand what you offer and to break everything down. And what are your other points of contact?
So I can share with you. I've got Instagram. Let me just share. So yeah, there's my
Yeah,
email
sure.
address if anybody wants to email me. My Instagram, my Facebook, the Serene Mama, and then my website is serenemama.com.
Okay,
So anywhere of
perfect.
those that would be perfect to get in contact with me. I read every email, every DM, everything is you talking to me. So I want to welcome moms. Please ask me if you have any questions or if you want to find out anything more. You can also let me know if you want to join my free masterclass.
I have one more question. So you said it's a 12-week course. Is this like, obviously it's part-time? Are there things like an hour long in the evening? How does it work?
The courses will be, every module will be released one module a week, but it's
Yes.
pre-recorded, so the mom can watch it whenever she wants. The videos will be short,
Amazing.
like
Okay.
7 to 15-minute max, so she can go watch it whenever she has time. And when all the modules have been released, she can go back. She has lifetime access, so she can go back and recheck a
Check.
video if she's like, oh, she said something about this, I need to go check it again. Go back, quickly watch that video. Yeah. So you can sit and watch it while your baby's cluster feeding, put in your earphones, and you can watch your videos and you can quickly learn
That
something.
is fun.
And then you don't have to sit and scroll Instagram and get bored out of your mind. That's also another whole thing in my course is how to nourish your body to recover properly.
Yes.
Because if you don't look after yourself, then one, your milk supply and your milk quality is affected, but also your body needs to recover from a massive, massive thing that you just went through. And if you
Exactly.
don't look after your body with what you eat and you're recovering your pelvic floor and your pelvic muscles, you are going to have
Yeah.
problems when you're 50. And that's what the women don't realize. They're like, okay, my baby's a year old. I'm all right. I'm coping. But then you turn 50, 60 years old, and now you struggling like with incontinence and you're struggling with back pain.
Yeah.
Your body your nutrients also needs to be recovered. So you have to have proper, I
Yeah.
also, I'm going to give guidance on getting nutrients, the right nutrients, healthy meals and stuff like that, because you
Yeah.
need to know what to eat and not to eat a random cracker in the middle of the night. You can meal
Yeah.
prep or ask someone to make meals for you for the freezer or do it before the baby is born.
Absolutely. It's a huge, huge part of it. Okay. But thank you so much for joining us today. This has been
It's a pleasure.
such a
Thanks for having
lovely
me.
chat, and I can see so many similarities between our stories. It's actually
Yeah.
crazy. There are so many things and so many memories that have just unlocked now. But I think this is a great course for women that want to kind of give themselves a safety net once they've
Yes.
had the baby. This is a safety net. It's a way of sort of anticipating what's to come and helping yourself in the future. And it's an investment that I think every mom should give herself because
Yeah.
it's a tough, tough thing.
And
Very
with Mother's
tough.
Day coming up, it's the perfect gift. So if someone wants
That
to
is
send
such
the
a
link to
nice
there,
thing. Yes, I didn't even think
yeah,
of that.
yeah.
Okay,
I think it's the best
amazing.
gift you can give to yourself, and your husband will be so happy because he doesn't have to think of something to buy you.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm just
Thank you.
going
Thank you for
to,
having me.
yes, it's been lovely having you. I'm sure we'll do another chat soon.
Yes, that'll be great. Thanks.